Hello, Billy the Artist here, and we're back with the final Incredibles how to draw video. And the last one was Edna Mode. This time we're going to do Mum and Son. We're going to do Elastigirl, Mrs. Incredible with Jack Jack. Anyway, this is going to be quite a complex drawing, and all of these have, and I hope you're ready for a good session of drawing again. This is going to be colour, but the last one, Edna, was pencil. Now these have all been about somewhere between 45 minutes to over an hour, these drawings, but I wanted you to see how much fun you can have just by doing it from start to finish. A complete drawing as quick as I can in real time. So again, Edna was just over an hour, and you can see that's quite a good, full, fun drawing. But I'm going to put time lapses up so you can see these very, very quickly from start to finish, and then you can follow along with the full how to draw videos. But if you check out the portraits time lapses, then you can see this is what you can kind of come up with. This is one that's up there. I'm going to do more pencil portraits. This is the singer Cheryl when she was pregnant with her first child, Bear. Now again, just really good fun, but it's spending a lot more time on a piece of art like this. Everything that I said about Edna was in on this drawing, so you can see the same with the hair. Now again, I did Edna's hair very, very quickly, whereas Cheryl's, I had to take my time to actually get the sheen and the light shine so that I wouldn't obliterate the paper completely. Again, everything that was in Edna, I utilised and did in this drawing of Cheryl. So again, check out the full drawing of Edna, and then check out the time lapse of Cheryl, the links in the cards and description for the portraits, and you can have some fun doing these kind of pencil portraits. And I'm going to be doing more this year, so there's going to be lots more how to draw films, lots more portraits and more art, which is great. But this is nearly the end. We also did Frozone, which was great, but we then did Mr. and Mrs. Incredible. So those are the first two that we did. And then we've got Baby Jack Jack, and again we're going to do Mum and Son today. But then we did Dash and Violet. Again, all of these show these dead simple techniques. You like and subscribe and you'll get kept up to date with the new videos that are coming. But the very first one was how to draw anything, and I show you the absolute basics that I've learned over the years of now, gosh, 4 decades of drawing and having fun. So again, we're going to do this one today, which is the final one of the Incredibles. Just to finish off, we're going to do Mum and Son, but I want you to have the fun as well. And again, like I say, Edna was great, and that was the last one. But I also want you to see here, because when I do my full portraits, I actually use a bridge. I've got a Perspex bridge. Oh, I'm going to get out. You can see this is what I use, so you can actually see the drawing, and that allows me to slide over. But when I'm doing a drawing that takes a day, that's an incredible tool, and I made that myself. You can't kind of buy that in shops, but I made that so that I can keep my hand off the actual paper. Now this backing paper behind, you can see on this side, is a bit darker than it is on this side. I'm going to lift up the sheet so you can see, and there you can see the dirt. There's a lot of dirt there, and that's just caused by my hand coming off and smudging the pencil as I've been working and bringing the drawings to life, the underdrawings, before I do the colour. And it's just, you pick up on your hand and then you smudge it all over. Now you can, and now you can see to some of my other drawings, you can use a piece of paper to rest your hand on. Now I've done that in the past, but I've created that bridge because it's a lot better to actually keep the artwork clean. Now again, I'm just going to show you this little sketchbook, and here we have some portraits that I've done. Now these are just little portrait drawings. These are made up, head studies that are just kind of made up, but these are real people that I copied from an artist named Everett Raymond Kinsler. Just again, these are little sketch drawings that I've done. That's just a made up head, just working on shadows and just lines. This was Bill Bailey. Again, this is in the portraits video, and there's a how to draw this portrait. I did this in real life. That was about 24 minutes to get that one done. But then the other night, this was just good fun. The trailer for Fantastic Beasts came out. So this was at midnight. I'm just sitting there, and my wife was doing some crochet work, and I just picked up my sketchbook and pulled the trailer up and hit pause and just did this drawing in about half an hour. Again, this is just a very, very simple, quick drawing that you can do using the techniques that I've used in all of these videos that I show you. So I just want you to see that drawing is a fun occupation that you can do at any time of the day or night, even if it's midnight, which is kind of appropriate for a Fantastic Beasts, Dumbledore and Hogwarts kind of time to do that kind of drawing. Anyway, we are now going to crack on. This will be a full colour one again. It's going to be a fairly long drawing, so it'll probably be about an hour. And I'm just going to divide this first again into quarters. Now, I used to do this by eye, and sometimes I was a little bit off, shall we say. And so I'll put this in now with a ruler. Again, don't be afraid to use a ruler if you want a straight line. But divide that into quarters and it helps you with your reference points. Now, I've had a number of people ask me recently, how do I get everything in proportion? Well, the edges of your paper are your first limit. So wherever anything is, you know that those shapes are going to have to fit within that paper. So the reference that you can see of Mrs. Incredible, fist kind of comes up to the top. Now it comes to the right of the kind of centre line, and then I'm just going to put a box in, and you can see there's a rectangle box. Now her arm comes right across the centre point. I'll put a little couple of marks there quickly to indicate where her arm's going to go. Now her left leg, right down the bottom, is just to the inside of this half of this quarter. So I'm going to put a couple of little marks there, and that helps to start bringing the reference points in before we start putting the squares and the circles and the shapes to build up all of these little characters. Now, the top of his shoulder, I'm just putting a mark in there, and underneath her armpit is going to be kind of down here somewhere. And you've got this kind of triangle shape there, which is down the side. Now we've got little baby Jack Jack. He's been held in her arm. Now his head is all underneath, he's contained completely in this. If we divide up this now, you can see he's inside this top quarter and he's above the halfway line. So we know Jack Jack is going to fit inside that kind of square there. And his little foot is here. Now, again, we've got his mum's hand, and because she's Elastigirl, she can stretch and she can hit people 100 feet away, which is quite handy in a fight when you're a superhero like she is. Or super heroine, whichever word you want to use. Anyway, we need to build. Now this is quite complex because it's not square on the page. Everything's bendy and diagonal. So what we're going to do is bring these shapes around. So you've got from a hand coming down here, just like a C. Her entire arm is just curved. And then you've got the edge of a glove. So I'm just doing a C, I'm not even doing a rectangle because it's just completely slightly curved as it comes down. So there you can see from the top, it's a bit like a kind of big flag going up right the way up to the top. We've got our arm just in place very simply, and we've got nothing else down here. But we're going to use now these shapes. I'm going to draw a box where Elastigirl's head is, Mrs. Incredible, and then her chin, you can tell, is just where the top of the line is. Jack Jack's head, we kind of come down a little way in on this box, and that's going to be the corner where Jack Jack's head is. So we need his head to be down here. As we say, we can see his little foot here, and we're going to start building these up quite quickly. Now where Mrs. Incredible's neck is, her arm's coming right the way down, and a hand, we're going to put a little rectangle there, little rectangle for her arm, and her arm goes up. Now Jack Jack's arm is straight out there, so we've got a little box there and a tiny little square for his hand, and you can see his head is now going to fit here, and we need his body coming down over his hand. Now his left leg is just another little rectangle, and his paddy is a little box inside. Now we need to just boost that up there. His little left hand is a little bit higher than well, his right hand on the left hand side as we're looking at the screen, it's a little bit higher than his left hand, so we've got another little box there, and then that will join up over the top of his baby grow. Now we can draw a kind of circle shape. We want his ear. His ear is just over the top of Mrs. Incredible's Incredible logo on there. So we need his other ear on this side. So that's a D. So on this side we've got a C, and on this side we've got a D. His little button nose is kind of in the middle. And then if you kind of look at it from this way, his mouth is just like a big C again. So just keep on thinking of those shapes. That's like a crescent moon now. You can see that little shape that we've drawn in. Now we need his mask. And it's going to go up. We've got a little V above the centre of his nose. If we just draw a little rectangle in, so you can see where the entirety of his mask is going to go. We now need, from the top of his nose, curve underneath, and it's like a capital B on its side, but with a little dent in the side down here. So rather than being straight, you've got a little kink over the top of where Jack Jack's nose is going to be. And then we can do the kind of B sign all the way down to the side of Jack Jack's head, and then that comes up over the top, and then we want his little spike, and Jack Jack's just brought in there using very simple little shapes again, but the proportions help, your centre lines help you to actually place these. So now he's got his big baby eyes filling a lot of his mask, and then just a little circle inside. Now again on this side we want, again, look at it like a D, so you got the back end of the D there, there's the centre line of his mask, and do the shape going up of the D over and come down, and then you want his nice big iris and pupil in the centre, just indicating the dark of his eye. So there's Jack Jack with his face drawn in quite quickly. Now we can use him as the reference points for the other shapes of Mrs. Incredible. So off his hand we've got Mrs. Incredible's belt that comes out to the side. Now here, coming off underneath his leg, we can just have a bit of a V, and that's a bit of a triangle there, and that's Mrs. Incredible's trunks. We can see coming down here, which matches where the edge of a gauntlet is where a knee is. So I'm just going to make a triangle, and then a rectangle just going up for her calf, going down to her foot, and then a little rectangle for her foot actually dinking down at the bottom. And then finally we can have a triangle coming down here, and that's to where about the knee is, and then we can go right off the page because this leg is completely off, and then that's most of her body in. So now what we need to do, we've got a little kind of cylinder shape there for her neck, that's going to be over her arm, and here we can see a above his hand we've got a little bit of gap, which is Mrs. Incredible's tummy going up over her breast underneath Jack Jack, so you've got a little bit of white there. Now we need to just work on a head. Now the bottom of a chin and a nose, so the top of a nose is there, just underneath. We can put in a quick little rectangle for Mrs. Incredible's mask, and we've got the bottom of a nose. Again, that's just a little triangle, and a mouth is a bit like an egg shape but with points at the end, so you can imagine just like a leaf. And then we've got a chin, and then a cheek comes up inside that square, and then you've got a triangle here which is the shape of a hair, and then a hair here is just like a big egg on the top coming out down the side. We can do the same with the cheek coming up to the side of her mask here, and then her ear is just down on the side. This here, a little C, and we can indicate that, match the ear up on this side of her head, and then we can match a hair going out. Now a hair swoops down on this the right hand side of her head, the left hand side of the drawing as we're looking at it, and it swoops down. You've got the C that comes down and joins where her neck is, and then when it comes out this side and it goes through Jack Jack's spike, it's just a little V, little diamond shape. Now all we need is to actually indicate Mrs. Incredible's eyes inside a mask. So again, it's not as pronounced as Jack Jack's, but a mask is a little bit curved, goes up to a point above the top of her ears, then we get the top that comes out like the top of a B on its side, and then goes under a hair on this side, over the top of a nose, and then that joins up underneath. Now we can add in Mrs. Incredible's eyes. So again, just think of the kind of leaf shape, and we can put that inside the mask, and then you want a nice circle inside for a pupil and iris. So there we've got very quickly all the shapes in, and we've been adding little details as we've gone along. Now we're going to build up a bit more. So up at the top we've got her fingers. So again, we've got the 4 fingers inside this square that we first developed. And then if you draw another rectangle underneath, that's going to be the thumb coming out to a hand here. So off the top we got the knuckle. Just wave the pencil over the top of where the knuckles will be, and then we've got a little finger that comes down, and you've got the base of a hand. So if you curve that and come around to where it'll join the thumb in the middle of the second finger, we can then curve the thumb out and go right to the edge, and then the little finger, you've got the inside down, you've got this kind of fold, and then straight down from here you've got a little finger tucked under. We can bring it down and draw and connect to that part there. Now here we can now do the same for all of these, and we can just go over the top of the thumb, curve that around out, go up, and then the outside of the finger goes out, up, and right the way up to the top. Now a gauntlet is a little bit wider than a wrist because it's over the top of the red part of the costume, and we can stretch that hand up And then just think of the scene. I'm pivoting from my shoulder again. Remember, don't just rest your arm flat on. Try and have your hand moving. So you're using a pivot from your shoulder and your elbow, not just trying to draw with your hand fixed onto the drawing board. Now, Mrs. Incredible's elbow is here. So what we need is to just kind of draw in a little bit. And then we can just slightly come out again to come down and do this arm. Again, the line comes in over their armpit. And we want that to come down and go up and just curve a little bit for a shoulder. And then that goes up to a neckline, and then you've got a collar coming round. And there's a chin. Again, I'm just going to add the detail with the pen when we go in and onto a mouth and a lips and a teeth. So now we just need to darken around the edge of Jack Jack's ear. And we've got the side of Mrs. Incredible's chest. And then Jack Jack's head goes up. So now we just need to detail up little Jack Jack, his body, and Mrs. Incredible's hand. So here we've got a little C for Jack Jack's cuff. And his arm's coming down, and you've got a little black line which will be his collar. Then his arm comes underneath. Now his little hand is tiny, and you'll struggle to see this, but you've got the box, so just put a little line in for his thumb at the top, and then you just want, within the box, you've got two fingers kind of pointing out and then two fingers slightly curled up. And using all the techniques that you've learned on the previous videos, you should be able to make them work. Now, his body here comes down. You can see I've just drawn his body down to his paddy. Now inside this little rectangle, I'm now going to draw the black base of his paddy. That's just kind of slightly curved. Now his right leg goes up, and within this rectangle you've got a little kind of wiggly shape, which is the bottom of his paddy again on his romper suit. And then his knee goes up, and then his chest sticks out and comes down. And then you want his right hand is here, so you just want a little curve going up to his thumb, and then again you've got two fingers pointing forwards, and then just two little circles for his little fingers that are bent towards you, and finish the curve off. Then you've got the darkness of his cuff, and then that goes down there, and you've got that little white space in between them. Now again, it didn't matter because Mrs. Incredible's hand glove is dark. It didn't matter that we drew Jack Jack's back down here, because now we're going to put Mrs. Incredible's thumb in and a finger. She's got long fingers that come round and fit, and the last two are kind of together. And a hand comes out, and then you've got here the curve of the edge of a gauntlet that goes from her elbow up, and then you've got a very slim wrist that goes, there you can see her arm going up, and just curve very slightly her arm going up behind, and you can imagine the shoulder is behind Jack Jack here where it comes down. So that's the curve that you're following to match. Now we've got Mrs. Incredible's belt coming off from Jack Jack's fingers, and then the curve of the leg comes down, and we've got the inside of a thigh coming down, and the top of a boot is like a cone, so this bit here coming down to a knee. So if we put the knee, corner point of a knee in, you've got this incredible cone coming all the way down to a knee. And that goes quite thin, and then we can join the thigh up inside the boot. Now, the edge of the trunks, you want the curve to come round just in front of Jack Jack's foot, and then that goes up underneath Jack Jack's leg. And now from the ankle, like I say, I'm just going to put in a heel and her ankle, and you need to come up and curve over for the calf muscle. And again, the front of a knee comes round, and then it goes very thin to the ankle. And a foot, like I say, you've got that little rectangle, so you can pull a heel out, and the toes are just slightly bent forwards in a shoe as she's pushing away forwards. Now again, this leg, we've got the top of the boot coming up just underneath Jack Jack's left foot, and then that comes down, and we can go right the way down to a knee, and this is really stretched out leg. And then the outside of this boot on a thigh comes down to the knee. You get a very thin knee and a very stretched out calf going off the page. We can just finish off the leg, the lines of the leg. You see there where the leg's going to go up, and it's going to go underneath and join up on the body. Again, I've got a little bit of a curve to do on this side. And that's all of the outline down quite quickly and simply. And now I'm going to put the full pen line in. I'm going to start with Mrs. Incredible's mask. Again, that goes over the top of her nose and under her hairline. It's pointed on this side, over and round. Again, you've got the hair that comes round over the mask. I'm going to put her eyes in quickly. And remember, just like a kind of leaf. And then we can indicate a pupil in her iris. Again, a leaf on this side, the shorter, thicker bit on this side, more pointed on the end of her eye here. Follow your pencil lines and your construction that you've put in. There's her eye in. Now, the side of her head comes down, and she's got quite a nice pointed chin, and just use the curve of your fingers to make that go up. Now on this side, the side of her head comes down, curves in just before her ear, and you can bring that round to join on the line with her chin. And then you just want a nice simple C for her ear, and on this side of her ear it's just a little slither that you can see just as the way the angle of her head is tilted. Now her hair here goes up and joins that part where the parting is and it goes out around and sweeps down. Now again, you've got this giant curve of a C coming round, and it goes round the back of her head, comes out, goes past Jack Jack's spike, and then goes and swoops up. Now here we need the hair to go up above the pencil line and just curve it round just to make the shape work. Now her nose, we've got this triangle. I'm just going to put the dots in underneath for her nostrils. I'm going to indicate that underneath, and she's got a shadow down this side. That's gently indicated in. Now her mouth, again, if you just think of that kind of leaf analogy, and it's just open. She's got very slim lips, and the bottom lip is very slim, and then her mouth just slightly open, indicating her teeth. I'm not going to put too much detail in. using this pen because it's a little bit thick and that's small. And when you put the colour in, you can build that up. But you can just slightly wiggle the line underneath to indicate the kind of shape of teeth. Now here we're going to do Jack Jack's head, and I'm going to push that out a little bit more and curve him down and round. And you've got his left ear, which is a C, and then that curves all the way down to underneath his chin. Make his smile big. He's got his tongue, which is just inside his mouth, and we can make that nice and black. Now we're going to do his little button nose and follow the shape of his mask around. Over the top, and you can see how that's like a capital B on its side. And then his nice big eyes are like capital D's on their side. And then we can put his iris and his pupils in. Now again, you can try and leave a little highlight, but you can either put it on with white paint or a white pencil crayon afterwards, and you can just increase that highlight. Now Jack Jack's got that spike going up off the top of his head. Now his right ear, we can bring that out, goes out and down, and then it's a bit like a V underneath. And what we've just slightly missed at the back, over the top of his ear, is the Incredibles logo on Mrs. Incredible's top. So now we've got his black cuff. Now we could have filled in the masks, but I'll do that afterwards. But his cuff is so thin, and his neckline, that I'm doing those quickly now. And his thumb, again, just follow the pencil lines that you put down. A little sausage for those fingers, and then you've got two little ovals because those fingers are just slightly bent up. Mrs. Incredible's long thumb going down, then a long finger, second finger, and third and fourth are kind of together. And the wrist going around the gauntlet, and her arm going up behind Jack Jack. There we've got Jack Jack's thumb and fingers, and we did the side of Mrs. Incredible's body coming down onto the top of his right arm. His black cuff, two little ovals for his fingers that are bent up, and then you've got his right leg coming down to his padders, and his left leg going off and up. Now I'm just going around systematically as the bits that I come to. I'm just going to fill the drawing in. I'm just filling this outline all the way down and around the drawing nice and quickly, because you've done the hard work with all of the construction lines. Remember, the boots and the gauntlets need to be just outside of the leg and the arm. Then you got the toes just bent, pushing Mrs. Incredible forwards. Again, the sash is over the top, and then you get the curve of a body. Mrs. Incredible's neck. I'm just filling that in quickly. I'm going to fill in Jack Jack's and Mrs. Incredible's mask, and that kind of gives you a keyed reference point. And you can then see their eyes really staring out at you, which is quite nice. Again, just colouring quickly. Don't be afraid of going over the lines a little bit. And you see they're really starting to leap off the page. So now I'm doing the arm down to the elbow, down to the shoulder, right the way to join the neck. The underneath the arm to the elbow, all the way down over the armpit. Curve of the gauntlet again, over the outside of the arm. And then follow that curve up. Again, I'm pivoting from my shoulder, not resting my hand and arm flat on. So following that line of the thumb round, line of that finger, the outside of the hand, coming over the top of the knuckles, and now sweeping all the way down the outside. Now that main finger right the way down to the little finger. And because you've done the hard work of filling everything in, that's now completely outlined, which is great because you did the hard work with the construction lines and the pencil. And then you can colour this in, whether you want to use pencil crayons. Like I say, I'm now rubbing out the lines inside so that I've got a clean piece of paper, or as clean as possible, so that the pencil won't affect the colour that goes down. And that will especially affect yellows and bright colours like light greens and light blues. And black, not so much. Again, I'm just rubbing out quickly as much as I can so as I've got a clean page to go at. I don't mind some of the construction lines showing out, it just shows you what you can do. Now you can take a lot more time and erase everything, including the centre lines, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep this as quick as possible, like I did with the others. Now I'm going to use the flesh colour first. I'm going to fill in Jack Jack, his hand, his ear, onto the top of his head. Now it's darker on this side and lighter on this side where the light's coming from. So I'm pressing on harder on this side, and then I'll just get a little bit lighter as I come round. It could have been a bit lighter than that, but it doesn't matter because we can make stuff up with other colours. So there's Jack Jack filled in. Now you can use felt tip pens or pencil crayons, but remember, you get just the flat colour when you use felt tip pens, and the bigger range you've got, the more shadow underneath the hair. Same on this side, very dark. And now I'm going to try and fill this in lighter. That's better. But remember, it's easier to add dark than it is to add light. Now we need her ear. We've got the shadow caused by her hair. So there we've got the flesh in very, very quickly. Now Jack Jack has got kind of blue eyes. And Mrs. Incredible has got hazel eyes. Now I'm going to use this lighter red felt tip pen. I'm going to fill all of Jack Jack in. Again, these are a cheap set of felt tip pens that I got a couple of years ago to do a test with them, just to see what they like, because these are the kind of things that you would end up as a birthday present or a gift at Christmas. in just an art set, and it shows that you can actually have a good bit of fun with the stuff that you can be bought in these cheap art sets, because you can get an incredible range of markers that are so vast and varied. Now I'm going to use this nicer red just to add a bit more tone and contrast. But as I was saying, like with the markers, you can get them and they cost a lot of money. But I just wanted to show you that you can have fun creating art with even basic equipment. And especially that's like even with the Edna Mode picture that I did. That's just pencil. And you can get pencils everywhere. And that's why I like using the pencils and doing the pencil drawings the most. Again, remember, you can always bring your little bit of paper out. Again, I'm putting the shadow reds in. Using this thicker marker pen. And we need that to come down to fill that shadow in. Now, on the orange for the belt, the incredible sign. Now, I'm going to use this pencil crayon rather than the felt tip, because the felt tip on the top of that little eye dot, the dot on the eye, would make the pen bleed and it'll go dirty very, very quickly. So I've used the pencil crayon rather than using the felt tip pen. Oh, I've missed an ear off. This is incredible. How did I miss your ear? There, we filled that in. Now again, for Jack Jack's hair and the base in Mrs. Incredibles, I'm using this orange first, and then we'll add the dark on the top. But again, even with the felt tip pen, you can see I've drawn in the direction of the hair. And that really helps. Now, to give you the impression of hair, now I'm going to use this black marker pen. Again, these marker pens were just cheap ones, not an expensive set, and they've lasted and done all of these Incredibles drawings and other stuff over the last couple of years. And so that's quite good to think you can get a cheap set of marker pens and produce some good art over a long period of time with it. So I'm carefully filling in Mrs. Incredible's thin fingers. Now the boot, you could leave the highlight, but I'm going to use the pencil crayons to put the highlights on afterwards. Now I'm coming off the edge of the paper, so I'm just putting another piece of paper underneath so I don't get it on my drawing board. You can't see that on camera, but all I've done is just put a little slip of paper, this one that I do the colour tests on, underneath the bottom. Now you can see there that it's not filling in completely all of the leg, and all I'm doing is twisting. I'm doing a little bit of drawing and I'm twisting the pen, and so that's telling me that the pen is actually getting to the end of its life, but it's done a lot of work, which is quite nice. Again, I'm filling in all of the leg. Now you can do this with paint, wax crayons, anything. If you want to, you can just fill in a bit like, you know, imagine the standard cartoon, whatever the cartoons are, you know, Peppa Pig or The Simpsons or Tom and Jerry, or anything on a cartoon where you've got the flat colour. You can colour these in nice and flat. You don't have to go for the 3D shape, but I like showing you how to get that effect as well using these pencil crayons. But you can see there that Mrs. Incredible and Jack Jack, it's all starting to come together. And I've noticed again, this is what happens when you colour everything in. I have missed Jack Jack's hands, so I'm just putting some flash in there. And I have missed Mrs. Incredible's arm coming around the back. So it's slightly darker there, but we want this nice orange highlight on that bit. And then if we get the mid-tone red, we can build that up in a little bit. And again, we have missed Mrs. Incredible's neck off. There we go. So now I'm going to put the flesh colour on her lips. And then put the red over the top for her actual lips. Now, will this pen survive? I'll try and make it to fill in all of this glove. But it might not make it. It might not. It might not make all of this glove. Yeah, that's really starting to struggle, but think how many drawings it's done. Quite a lot. Oh, we'll get there. We'll make it work. Again, something you can just give the pen a little bit of a rest, and that'll help it to just survive. But anyway, I'm going to try and make this fill it all in. So what we need to do is just come down thickly next to the thin lines that we've done. And I'm going to leave, unlike the legs, I'm going to leave just one kind of strong highlight all the way down. Oh, that's really running out now, that is. But I'm just going to fill in the shapes. So underneath here we need to get that all covered and all the way over. And so the dark shadow goes right underneath. That's really not working. So that's lasted a fair while, but now it's giving up the ghost. But we have the black that's in the felt tip pack as well. So now I'm filling in all the way underneath, all the way up to the top. So we need just a nice line going up to the edge. Now these, because this is quite a thin nib, you've got to work a lot more to cover the actual space, and I don't have any more wide nib markers that I can see on my desk, unfortunately, but that's just kind of how it goes. So I'm just going to fill in the space as quickly as I can. And again, we want a nice white highlight there, go up to the edge. And filling in the space quickly using the side of this felt tip pen as much as I can rather than the tip. But I've got to twist it the same. Again, these felt tip pens have been sitting in my studio now for about 2 years, and they've done a fair few drawings, so even these have done much better than I anticipated, which is very, very good. So just like we'll do with the red colour, I will end up, I mean that looks quite good on the screen, but I will end up going over this with a black pencil, the black pencil crayon, to fill in the colour and the shape. Just so that you get that fuller tone all the way. So I'm going back to using the thicker one because it's had a little bit of rest, and that'll help to fill in some of the space as well. But because it's running out of ink, we can't actually fill in these spaces because I'm going to put colour over, but the fact that it's not jet black is a good thing. So now Mrs. Incredible, I'm using this kind of mid-tone brown in her hair just to indicate the lines, and it helps to bring up the shadows. Going out, again following the hair down this side of her head all the way down, and then the real nice darker brown. I'm going to go over the top with red, but it's using all of these colours that build up and make a really nice tonal quality in Mrs. Incredible's hair. So again, I'm following that down all the way down as if I was brushing the hair or combing it. Now I've got the red pencil crayon and I'm just quickly going over all of Mrs. Incredible's hair. Oops. Now what's just happened there is the wet from the felt tips had actually distorted the paper and ripped a bit up. Now again, for all of their clothes over the red, I'm quickly going over with the red pencil crayon, and it just fills in the tone nice and quickly with the red, and it just makes it look a bit fuller all the way along. So there you can see it's really starting to look alive and full. So now I'm going to use these two browns. You can see there's a kind of brown highlight inside the glove and down the edge of this glove down here. You've got this nice tonal colour coming all the way down, and underneath the edge of the glove so underneath, and it's this kind of orangey reddy brown that's reflected off her hair and the costume that makes it work. Again, you've got it on this highlight there and on these reflected curved parts of her fingers, and even right the way over the top of the glove. So I'm just adding these colours in, building it to make it work, and you can just see you're getting a little bit more tonal quality in the actual colour of the gloves. Now I'm also going to use this dark blue. I'm just going to sharpen it a little. Because blue is a really good, nice shadow colour. I'm just running that next to that kind of brown and over the top before I go over with the black pencil crayon. I'm also going to run over with a little bit of grey. Now down here I'm going to run the blue on the underneath of the glove, just the inside of this leg, the same on this side of the leg, and the top of a calf and down a foot. Now down the outside of a boot I'm going to run all the way down that highlight that you can see, but this is this mid-tone brown, so that helps with the colour. And again the same down on this leg and on the top of the foot, and then on the outside of a gauntlet, on the outside of a hand. You can see that on their masks too. They've got these highlights of these colours increasing. Now we've got Jack Jack's tongue. It's a reddy pink colour. Again, just soft and then just darken it inside his mouth. And I'm putting the red over the black and it just makes it warm inside the shape. Now again, using the red with Jack Jack, I'm just darkening down this side of his head where the shadow is, down underneath his chin, underneath his nose, the shadow coming off his nose, and the top of his head. The same thing with Mrs. Incredible, down the side of her nose you got like a diagonal triangle shadow coming off, and I'm just using the red to start that, and I'm darkening down the side of a cheek, down under a chin and under a bottom lip. And you can see the tone is just starting to change. I'm just filling up that cheek a little bit. Again, the outside of a nose. Now I'm going in with this brown just to make the shadows even darker. And because they're so small, I'm keeping these colours fairly limited. Shadow underneath, and the shadow you want to rear in there. The same with Jack Jack, so we can put the edge of his ear in, can darken that down. Now his hand, we can put the shadows underneath the bottom, and again underneath his nose, underneath his mouth and his chin, coming around right the way up to this top one. And what we need is a little bit of red in his cheek. We can increase the shadow around the side of his head, around the side of his mask. And now they're really starting to look like fuller characters. So now I'm going to increase the flash on Mrs. Incredible's cheek just to build that up, where the highlight's the strongest just above her mouth. Again, this is just how simple it is when I say to you that it's easier to add dark than it is to add light. I hope you can see that, how that's really starting to work. Their faces are really working well on there now. Now I'm getting this raw umber, this real dark earthy brown, and this will help on the shadows in the lines in Mrs. Incredible's hair. Again, I'm twisting the pencil each time I do a couple of lines, so as I'm getting the sharper point on the edge and following the direction of her hair. little bit up on Jack Jack's. Now I'm going to go in with the blue for the real deep shadows right next to her head. As we come down here, as the hair tucks under the side of her head. And blue is a receding colour, especially when you've got red in the flesh tones. That really pushes them forwards. Now I'm going to get this orange pencil crayon. I'm going to indicate the highlights in her hair. You can see that helps to lift Mrs. Incredible's hair up quite a lot. I'm going to get this slightly darker orange and do the same as it comes down and over the top where I parted it before we go in with the black. Now I'm just going to sharpen this black so as I've got a nice point on it, and that way you've got more control over finer details. So Mrs. Incredible's mask underneath her hair down on this side is going to be darker, and again over the top of this eye you've got a bit of a shadow. I'm just filling in those spots. Now right in the parting I'm putting the black in, but it's going on top of all of those other colours, and then the shadow coming down around this ear and right next to her head, and then the shadow round the back and around the edge of her ear. Because you've got all the other colours, that's making it work together, and you can see how the hair is starting to just shine on the top where you want the highlights to be, and you've got that form going into where the dark is. Now again with Jack Jack, around his eyes and the edge of his mask I'm going to darken with the pencil crayon. The bridge of his nose, again just the inside of this eye, it's going to be darker right the way down underneath that ear. Now again I'm using the black quickly just to fill in these spaces and shapes, even on a glove. On Jack Jack's padders, just filling in the colour. Now what we need is the blue again. So now I'm going to put in all the shadow on the red. So we've got underneath Jack Jack's arm and on Mrs. Incredible's left arm, underneath his leg, all of that left leg. Then you've got a shadow going down there on the inside of the right leg, but very gently on the outside there. Underneath her armpit is dark, and it comes down around the torso. And we're leaving that little bit of highlight on the edge there. Now I need the brown to darken down the belt. Because it's orange and a yellowy colour, if you use blue it will go kind of greeny colour, which we don't want. So I'm now just putting a little bit of the orange highlight in down the edge of her top and on the top of her arm. Now I'm going to lightly increase the shadow around there, and then all the way up the right arm you've got that stronger shadow. Now you're really seeing it come together, which is absolutely great. Again, it's just using and mixing the colours quickly and correctly. I'm going over the blue again with the red, just to darken it down and mix the colours. And again, we've got underneath Jack Jack, colour and tone that he's got. Now, got this kind of orange highlight all the way down this leg and all the way up. I've not used much of the white yet, but we're just increasing, using the brown again now, just some light tonal variance in these tones on the glove. Now I'm going to come in with a black pencil crayon just to sharpen everything up and darken before we put the highlights on. Again, it would have been nice if that black felt tip pen, the marker pen, would have worked all the way, but it didn't. So instead, I've done a lot more work with the smaller, thinner one, and now I'm filling in with the black pencil crayon. Now I want a bit of red reflected into the trunks. And now I want the white. So you can see there how the highlight all of a sudden just leaps off when we put that in. I want the same. It's going to bring up this arm, the edge of the glove, and the edge of the fingers. Now I'm just putting these impressionistic, very quick lines in, and you can see how much of a difference it makes very quickly. Again, this leg, just indicate that line down. Now on a hand up at the top, we want these really strong highlights. You can see that finger just starts, the little finger just starts to appear so much better. Little highlight on the knuckle across the top, and then we want a highlight there going up to the crease at the top, highlight on the curve coming around, again a highlight going up on the edge of the knuckle as it bends around, the same there, and we've got the same on the thumb coming all the way round underneath. This is just a simple little white pencil crayon. I'm just pressing on really hard, and that has given me that very quick tonal quality. Now because we've done all of this, hopefully I've given the pen a bit of a rest. It will pick up some of the black pigment that will allow me to just delineate some more of the lines down on here. And before we do that, what we need very, very quickly is a little bit of grey just inside the eyeballs, just to grey them down. And going back in with the red, gently over Mrs. Incredible's lips. And this kind of ivory colour, again the same with the eyebrow, eyeballs and the teeth. And this is just picking up a few details now. Again, I'm darkening Jack Jack's mask, filling that in. Putting some red back in Mrs. Incredible's hair. That is looking rather good. Now with the black, I'm now just going to increase the shadow where it needs to. So underneath her armpit, just down there. That's absolutely fantastic. Now I'm coming back in with the big thick marker pen. Oh, it's had a bit of a rest. Oh, that's good. So here you can see I'm just sharpening up the lines on her fingers, because the pen's had a little bit of time to rest, which is good. And I can just increase a little bit of definition. It's also just smudging some of the pencil crayon in with the pigment, which is actually quite nice. But that hand looks like it's really starting to leap off now. And I'm coming down, filling that in so as it's darker, all the way up to the knuckle. And that is pretty good. Few very little final things. I'm just going to darken Mrs. Incredible's eyes and Jack Jack's with that brown. And I'm going to go back in with the felt tip, the fine liner. Now you could use a white bit of paint, because I don't think the white pencil crayon is going to put highlight on the eye. I'm just scratching the white pencil crayon off on some paper just to see. Oh, very slightly. But there we have Mrs. Incredible and Jack Jack, a full superhero family portrait. Again, I'm just going to put some white on highlights just to help the hair stand out. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that. That's been good fun. I'm just going to, I'm just going to feather that in down to this knee. It's a much finer point. And the same on these. Yeah, nearly done. And again, you can tweak and fiddle as much as you want. Again, red highlight right down the edge. And I'll call that done. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that. I have. That's the last one of the Incredibles. Please do like and subscribe for more how to draw videos, and we'll look forward to encouraging you with your drawing well into the future. Do check out the painting and drawing and portraits time-lapse videos, and thanks very much for watching. See you again next time. Ta-da.